last two videos in this series were about a good weapon that is kind of mediocre when it comes to Rivens, that was the Telos Boltor, and an underrated gem that just destroys things with the right Riven in the shape of the boss log. Today I want to showcase an example of a weapon that is amazing in terms of power, but it's pretty much useless in terms of viability. So today I want to show you why I think the Glaive Prime is a Riven monster and still why it's not more widely used. I'm Deuce and thanks in advance for watching. So the Glaive Prime is a vaulted Master Rank 10 melee weapon with a 4 out of 5 Riven disposition. Most veterans will say it's pretty good, yet you see no one using it. From a statistical perspective, this weapon is competent as a traditional melee, yet it won't set the world on fire. Now, when employed using the dual wielding mode is when the Glaive Prime reveals its true colors. As you can see, it has 3 main damage composition: regular melee, throw, and charged throw. In this specific video, I will be focusing on the last one. The charged throw is only available when using a glaive alongside a single-handed secondary. The best example on this is the very widely acknowledged combination of the Zakti and the Glaive Prime. The reason? Well, when you put these two together, there is nothing that can stand in their way, and it's all because of one mod: Condition Overload. Use the Zakti to spread status effects. Main reasons for this particular choice are the fact that its darts detonate, causing a cloud of gas to spread its effect on an area. Also, it has a very high status chance, a very good ammo economy, fast reload speed, and it's very easy to use. The other part of this equation, the Glaive Prime, is employed in conjunction with Condition Overload to just destroy everything and anything that is being affected by status effects thanks to the Zakti. But as with everything, this combo looks very nice on the Simulacrum, but outside of it finds two main issues. Number one, there isn't content in the game where you would need this type of weapon combination. Regular enemies, swordy enemies, and even sanctuary enemies just aren't strong enough for this pair. I mean, even the Simulacrum enemies fall effortlessly. Number two, when you get to the point where this setup could come in handy, mainly during an endurance run, you realize it's simply not fast enough. It's powerful, yes, very, but slow and clunky to implement even for those who have mastered the art of the glaive. Amongst this enters my Riven, Glaive Krita Desiata, almost ideal for dual wielding throws. It comes with plus 112.5% status duration, plus 178.1% melee damage, plus 101.4% critical chance, and slide attacks have a minus 83.4% chance to be a critical hit. But Spin to Win is getting the nerf hammer, and like I said, this is a build meant for throwing, so honestly, it doesn't matter. Rolled 4 times, this Riven helps the throw like you wouldn't believe. The Glaive has a tendency to proc slash, its main IPS damage type, when thrown charged. Status duration helps that by doubling the bleed proc's duration and thus its damage. A flat melee damage increase is one of the few things that scale said proc's damage while increasing the weapon's initial damage output in the process. Lastly, the crit chance makes critting with this weapon something a lot more reliable. Still, since throws don't contribute to the combo counter, thus not getting along with either Blood Rush or the Gladiator mods, this last part is the one that I would like to change. Even with such a substantial increase, critical throws are rare. I'd say that this particular Riven is one of the strongest in my collection when accounting the weapon it's for and its incredible power. Yet all of this power doesn't fit the game's current combat structure. You see, Warframe today, in the words of its own developers, feels more like Dynasty Warriors with a melee system akin to Devil May Cry. The Glaive illustrates this perfectly. In Devil May Cry, you face off against maybe 10 enemies at a time. You can do a lot to them, but it's only 10. While in Dynasty Warriors, you face dozens. In the DMC's universe, a Glaive would be a great choice, since it allows you to effectively take out small crowds of enemies, given that you're willing to put in the effort and practice to master. But in DW's universe, a Glaive just like the one we have feels out of place. because it doesn't match the speed of other weapons. You're going up against hundreds of enemies per mission, yet you're only able to take out 1, 2, 3 at most, and if you're really lucky. An argument could be made that using this weapon both as a regular melee and as a thrown one would mitigate this issue, but every min-maxer will tell you that in order to get the most out of this weapon you need to commit. Either you go for a thrown build or a regular build. Sadly, you can't have both, much like in the case of the Euphona Prime. Now, modding wise, this is my current setup for the Glaive Prime 2 formas, which is not very expensive considering that this build has 3 Prime mods and a Riven. You could say that this is not your typical melee build, and it isn't. Yet this is the one that allows me to get the most out of the charged throw damage wise while preserving some utility, since attack speed also increases charge speed, which helps a lot when trying to pull this combination off outside of the Simulacrum. One weird entry is Finishing Touch. Now, you've probably noticed that this is a viral bleed build with Condition Overload on top. Finishing Touch is here to increase said proc's damage, as is Spoiled Strike. Remember that this is being dual wielded with the Zakti, so that weapon will carry the majority of the effects, while the Glaive is used mainly to proc slash and take all that damage and just destroy everything. Now, finished damage supposedly increases slash proc's damage due to the fact that bleeding effects are dealt as a form of finisher, ignoring armor and damage mitigation. In my tests, I found that to be true. With Finishing Touch, it deals more damage than without it, but I can't 100% confirm it based solely on empirical data, so take this with a pinch of salt. What I like about this setup is that it's rarely seen in-game, yet it's incredibly powerful. I'd say that outside of a cover lethality dagger, there isn't much that can compare to a dual-wielded Glaive Prime in terms of raw damage, but its tendency to work on very specific scenarios and not adapting well to the current landscape makes this weapon, despite all of its power, somewhat useless. Yet pairing it with invisible frames like Loki or Octavia considerably increases its usability, especially with Octavia, since you can use her abilities to deal massive AoE damage while employing the Glaive Prime on those particularly tough enemies. I won't tell you that dual wielding a glaive is meta or anything like that, but I personally find this weapon to be a very powerful change of pace, a different take that feels refreshing when I'm using it. Not to mention that despite this not having the optimal build, it still gets the job done as a regular melee. So yeah, the Glaive Prime is a Riven monster simply because of its raw power. And given the right circumstances, you can work its usage into the current combat style of the game. But the decision to whether or not cash in on this is up to you. Like I said earlier, a dual-wielded Glaive Prime is an incredibly powerful tool, even more so with the right Riven, but its uses are limited to the Simulacrum, but it looks great, and some very specific setups involving invisible frames or others with very good crowd control. But if there's one thing that is certain, is the fact that the Glaive Prime can destroy just about anything with incredible ease. For my part, this is all for now. If you enjoyed the video or you found it interesting, please consider giving it a like. Don't forget to subscribe for more Warframe content and follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with everything. Again, thank you very much for watching. Wherever you are, have an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.